Hello, I'm Cara Stanford, and this is the Marketing Spaces. Thank you so much for making the space to take time to understand a real marketing fundamental. I'm going to run us through a model today that you will know already. And the reason you know already is because it has been reused, rejigged, repurposed. It's one of those things that's incredibly deceptively simple. So not only are we going to look at the model, we're going to look at one or two adaptations of it, but of course we're going to find out, what does this mean for your marketing? That is the whole point of the Marketing Spaces, to help you learn how to apply these things in a practical, realistic and helpful way. So without much further ado, let's take a look at the buyer's journey. So the buyer's journey is a fundamental framework. I think the first thing we need to understand with the buyer's journey is that it is a journey. When a customer or a client or a donor or a sponsor is making that decision to take the action, most of the time the action when we're in marketing is to take the action to make a purchase from you, or it could be to donate something to you or to take a particular action themselves. It's a journey. They don't just wake up and go, I'm going to go and buy some glasses today. There is a journey that happens. So first thing we have to acknowledge is this journey that happens, and there are steps that are undertaken at each of these along this journey. When we realize that it is a journey, we can then start to think, what marketing communications do they need at each step of this journey? And that's where our role comes in as marketers. Our role is to support them at each step of the journey. And then we can start to think, well, how do we measure each step of that journey? How do we measure what's going on and what's happening? And how long does each step take for people to make? This might not make sense yet, so let's look at the stages. This is the buyer's journey. It is adapted from a model by Philip Kotler, it was a 1959 model called IDA, which was awareness, interest, desire, action. I've adapted it to this one. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of adaptations of the buyer's journey. They all follow the same principle, that when somebody is moving towards adopting, in this case I called it adopting, Kotler called it action, towards making that purchase decision, they go through a series of phase steps. So let's look at them. The first thing is that they are unaware that you, your company, your product, your service, your charity exists. They don't know. So at a very high level, it's saying, how many people are there who could actually be purchasing from your organization or donating to your organization that you don't know about? And this is basically finding out your market size. So at this unaware stage, gauge how many people could potentially be on this journey with your organization. Then the first thing is awareness. We have to make them aware that we exist. And this is typically what people think of as marketing, because this is the stuff that we see in our everyday lives. It's the adverts, it's the social media posts, it's the mail outs, it's all of this stuff that is constantly there, constantly there. That is to make us aware that a company exists. And for those people who doubt that awareness actually works, look at the huge companies like Coca-Cola. They have invested billions over the years in making sure that the world are aware that they exist. Why is this awareness important? Well, it's the first step. If somebody doesn't know that you exist, then they haven't even begun on the journey. The second step is interested. Oh, okay, that's quite interesting. You're right, I do need an accountancy service. Let me find out more. I want to find out more. Where do I go to find out more? What do I look at? What do I click on? Is there a piece of clickbait enticing me to find out more? Am I being offered something to find out more? Where do I go? Do I go to a website? Do I go to a profile? Do I make a phone call? Do I send an email? What happens when I'm interested? The beauty about the awareness and interested, when people become aware of you and interested in you, is you might not know it. I know that I have found out that I've had clients for my consultancy business who have said, yeah, we've been kind of keeping tabs on what you've been doing for a few years. And when we were ready, we came to you. Wow, I didn't even know that they were there. Now, I knew that people were there because I was looking at my metrics and my numbers, but I didn't know these specific people were there. And that's the big thing with awareness and interest. You will get the numbers, you will have a general feel for how it's going, but you won't necessarily know the specific people that are there, that are watching, that are engaging with your content. CRMs, customer relationship management systems, can help us a little bit with that. And we can say, oh, look, Cara keeps clicking on our brochures and our downloads. That's interesting. Is she ready? Is she ready to move on? Because the next step is considering, and this is when they have actively decided that they need whatever it is you are offering. And at the considering stage, they're not just considering you. They are considering other options. They might be considering competitor options. They might be considering the biggest competitor to all of us, which is I will do nothing. I'm not going to do anything. It's too much hassle. It's too much effort. It's too much money. I don't have the time. At the considering stage, as marketers, we need to think, what do they need? How do we show them how we are different to the competitors, how what we're offering them gives them value? And this comes down to our competitive positioning so that they can understand. And competitive positioning isn't necessarily putting down the competitors. It's saying, look, this is us. This is the space we occupy. If, for example, you would like to buy organic, fresh food that's delivered straight to your doorstep, we're the right people for you. If, however, you prefer to have your food from a supermarket that you can pick it and it's much more convenient, we're not the right people for you. That's fine. That's fine. What do we provide them at the considering stage? What you then hope for is that they will adopt. As I said, typically in these models, adopt means make a purchase decision, but it could also mean make a donation if you're a charity. It could mean support an event, if you're, could be changing a behavior if you're engaged in social marketing. So at the adopting stage, that's where they go, yeah, you are offering what I want, what I need. I choose you. Let's do it. Let's get on with it. So what happens there? How do you make it easy for them? How do you make it feel good? Great, you've come on board. This is brilliant. Thank you so much. And then the final stage is loyalty. And in some business, normally with loyalty, we think about repeat business. In some businesses, repeat business might not be appropriate. So there might be some businesses or some purchase decisions that once somebody has made them, they're not going to do it again because it's a big deal. So for example, once you buy a car, we're the type of family, we buy a car, we stick with it every 10 years. How can we show our loyalty to the local garage that we found was so brilliant? We refer and recommend. Loyalty, 3 R's, repeat business, refer, recommend. You must go there. They were really good, really honest, really helpful. Got a great car for them, exactly what they said on the tin, really, really good. Refer, recommend. So you can see all of these different stages that our buyers go through when they're making a purchase decision or the other decision. I said that I'd show you another model. Here's the second one. Dave Chaffee of Smart Insights. He's a really good digital marketer. I do recommend you check out his stuff. He coined the RACE framework for planning. And he said that actually what you have is you reach out. In digital marketing, you reach out to people. Then what you want them to do is to interact, act with you. So that's the kind of interested, considering stage. And then you want to convert them. So that's the adopting stage. And then you want to engage them so that they stay engaged with you for a long, 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 long time. So you could start to see how you take this IDA model and you can expand it out. You might have seen this as a sales funnel. Before I move on to the next part, which is to help us kind of think about how to apply this to our marketing, things that I want to point out is typically there are diminishing returns. In an ideal world, every single person that becomes aware of us becomes a loyal customer. So that is a ratio of 1 to 1. It doesn't happen. At a simple level, I'm going to pick simple figures. We might say, right, for every 100 people that become aware of us, we want 70 of them, so 70% of them to go through to interest. Out of those 70, probably 35 of them are going to be considering us. Out of that 35 that are actively considering us, we think we want 10 to become actual customers. And out of those 10 that become customers, we want 9 of them to be loyal customers. So that means that to get 9 loyal customers, you have to make 100 people aware of you. You could start to see how you could play with the numbers, which is exciting, but that's for another time. So what does this mean for your marketing? It means that you have to think, when you're planning your marketing, which communication tools and messages are needed at each stage. and they will be different. The tools that you are using at the aware stage to reach out to people will be different. There will be tools that require short bursts of information to be given, interesting bursts of information, creative, attention grabbing. That's where the phrase clickbait comes from. Clickbait is at the awareness stage, at the aware stage. What do you need to measure at each stage? What are you measuring? So how do you measure how many people are aware of you? And that can be a tricky one. I know that social media platforms try to do that with the number of views. Does that count just because it's been served up in someone's feed? Have they actually become aware of you? In the good old days when I began marketing, it used to be, we have put an advert on this billboard by this train station, and we know 10,000 people walk past here every hour in the morning at rush hour. That's 20,000 people at rush hour. So we could say that we have had 20,000 views. As somebody who frequently would walk past things and it just becomes noise and not notice them, that's not exactly accurate. So how do you measure at each stage? It becomes easier with interested, because you can say, actually, we can see how many people have downloaded our thought paper, how many people have visited our website, how many people have watched our videos. How long do people spend at each stage? My record is I had the person that I mentioned who said, oh yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on you, 13 years. She kept an eye on me for 13 years before she finally got in touch and went, Cara, I'd like to discuss bringing you into my business as a consultant. 13 years. That was quite long. And the reason that it's important, though, is because you want to be able to set yourself realistic targets. So if, for example, the average person, the average customer spends 3 months in awareness interest before they then move to considering, and then once they move to considering, they might take their time because they've got a lot of people to ask. So that might take them another month. So that's maybe 4 months from being aware of you to get through the considering stage, and then they'll purchase. So say 5 months to get to adopting. That means that if you set a campaign up today, you won't see the benefits of that campaign until 5 months' time. That is when you will see the customers. Apologies, when I say the benefits, you won't see the paying customers or the donors until 5 months' time, if that's how long it takes people to walk through that journey. Really, really important, because I've seen people set targets which were impossible. Targets of, well, you know, within the first 3 months, we're expecting you to bring in 10 new clients. And then you sit down, you walk through, it's like, it takes a year for someone to make a purchase decision. It's like, well, they're going to fail. You've just given them a target they can't meet. So it's really important to understand how long people are spending each journey. And then you've got to look at the whole journey. And you need someone in place who is looking at that whole journey, not only to gauge the time that it's taking, but also to ensure that all of those handovers are smooth. And that's particularly important if you're handing over to different departments. So a bit of a run through a key marketing foundation, the buyer's journey. This tool is not just used for planning, you can use it to review your marketing. So you could say, right, what are we doing at each stage? How well are we doing it? Where can we make improvements? Absolutely fantastic tool. As you stay with me throughout the marketing spaces, you will see I refer back to it again and again and again and again. So thank you ever so much. I'm Cara Stanford, and this has been Marketing Spaces.